Hey, you liberal fruitcake. Support. Let's talk about it. Well, I never thought I'd see the day where European leaders and the left would be mad at the Trump administration for trying to stop a war. Now, I can hear you all crying. I see it every day. Trump's aligned himself with Putin. No, he hasn't. He's just the only one who apparently understands the gravity of the situation. So let's get a couple of facts straight. Ukraine is not part of NATO. Therefore, the United States has no obligation to Ukraine in supporting its endeavors in a war that cannot be won. The only way this war ends is with diplomatic solutions. And yes, that does mean that the fourth largest military power in the world, Russia, is going to come out better in that situation. Now, this is in no way to justify the actions of Russia. And I've seen a lot of people in my comments who I've talked with saying, well, then Russia's going to get off scot-free in the situation. They're the fourth largest military power in the world, and they're nuclear. They don't get to lose. And if we want any hope of avoiding escalation to World War III, which we are trying to avoid, Ukraine gets to make some concessions. And I'm sorry, that's just the reality of conflict. Now, a lot of people are going to say that Russia will not obey any sort of peace treaty, which was in part the reason that we had a mineral deal with Ukraine on the table, which would put a financial interest of the United States in Ukraine as a deterrent for Russia. Not a military force, a financial interest. A joint venture that would benefit both countries greatly. Whether you agree with the term majority, Trump won the majority of the votes in this past election. The Republican Party won both the House and the Senate by a majority, a slim majority, but still a majority. And many people voted for them because of their stance on foreign wars and the United States no longer putting their financial interests in foreign wars above that of their own citizens, especially in wars that cannot be won. Things are going to escalate if you start putting military forces in Ukraine from other countries. And the United States has chosen not to be a part of that. And I can hear you guys saying, I didn't. Well, then you should have won more people to your side of this argument. Now, over the past 2 days, we've seen a lot of UK and EU prime ministers saying that we're going to stand with Ukraine. And there's been just as many saying that they're not going to, that they're going to stand with the decision behind the United States. Why? Because the United States is giving an off-ramp to this conflict when nobody else has any other options. So to those who are going to stand behind Ukraine, I think we need to look at a couple of numbers in way of strength and military. Now, the total combined strength of the Russian military is 3,704,000 people. The total combined military strength in personnel for the EU is 2,918,222 people. Now, let's assume that every single EU country agrees to support Ukraine, which they're not. That is still a smaller number than Russia. Now, if you even add the UK into that, and I'll be honest, I laughed when Keir Starmer said that he's going to back Ukraine with military force. The UK has a military of 247,000 people. A drop in the bucket in terms of military strength. Now, the United States has a military force of 2,127,500 people. That is the United States alone. And like I said, the EU is not all in agreement on helping Ukraine out, because the whole goal should be to de-escalate. Now, another big proponent on why the United States wants to back out and say, if you guys want to keep on fighting it, that's fine. We're not going to escalate this. Because like I said, Russia's nuclear. Now, under the NPT, that's Non-Proliferation Treaty for Nuclear Weapons, there are 5 countries that are nuclear. That is the United States, Russia, China, France, and the United Kingdom. I can hear some of you say, isn't Germany? No. Belgium, Germany, Turkey, Italy, and the Netherlands house U.S. nuclear weapons. They're not theirs, they're ours. Now, the United States is going to choose not to escalate this conflict. Why? Because of those things we just talked about earlier. Now, Russia's dug itself in too deep in this conflict. They're not going to back down. They are in the wrong. But the term mutually assured destruction is why we should try to not escalate this further. So if the United States needs to back off in order for this war to end, God, I'm proud to be an American. Have a good day!